Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rumcast. This is the rum program that talks all things rum with the people who love and shape it. For today's episode, Will and I are going to be going over some shaping of our own, you might say, putting maybe the final puzzle corner piece into everything that we've officially announced for the Rumcast Reserve so far. And really, finally, it's time, Will, for us to talk about that second barrel release that we teased back a while ago. So, Will, we've been holding this as a quasi-secret for a while now. Are you excited to finally let this one out?
I'm really excited, but I also have to ask you, when you do puzzles, do you end with the corner piece?
No, you start with the corner pieces.
Oh, you said placing the final corner piece during the intro. So
what I meant by that, so thank you for allowing me to clarify. What I mean is we're building the border of this for people, and this is, you hunt for those corner pieces.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've given them three out of four corner pieces. Yes.
We're completing the outline of the puzzle. So
right.
The puzzle will be finished when they actually taste the rums, I guess.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Now they're going to get the lay of the land completely. So
okay, yeah. I was just imagining you like trying to do a puzzle from the middle out or something like that.
Middle out technology is the way forward. Yes.
Oh man, some late 2010s television references to start the show. No, I'm really excited about this. I think we already revealed the Guyana VSG release, and when we talked about that one, it was it's more of a traditional rum origin, something which I think was surprising in its own right, because we were really kind of going into this intending to try to do stuff that was a little more like stuff people haven't had before. And I do think like that release itself is still brings something people haven't had before. But I think this second release is from an origin that maybe fits a bit more in with expectations, perhaps.
And I almost feel like maybe there's a little bit of the opposite direction with it.
Okay, we can talk about that when we reveal it. But I think we're going to do something else first. It's actually another reveal related to the release. So we've been spending the past couple of months really dialing in on the label design for this release. And the design is complete. And now we have moved on to selecting the paper that the label will be printed on. And I think this is the final choice we have to make, because like the bottles are selected, the stoppers are selected, the closures or shrink cap things are selected.
It's a lot, yeah.
And so we just have to sign off on which paper we want. The printer we're working with, Niagara, out of New York, they've been awesome to work with, by the way. Very collaborative, very responsive. And there were kind of two materials that we liked in the samples that they sent, and so we had them print like a test version essentially of our labels on this paper. And now John and I have to decide which paper we're going to select, and we have not discussed with each other what we think of the two samples yet. So we're going to show you what the label looks like. We're going to show you the two paper options, and
which, to be fair, might be hard to see online.
They might be.
They're fairly close, but there is a difference.
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing where if you look at it closely in person, you can see the difference pretty quickly. But yeah, through our shitty cameras that we were just talking about, we need to upgrade. It might be hard, but you should still, check it out on YouTube so you can see. But I think we're also planning like the day after this releases to post on social media just like what the actual label looks like. So yeah.
You'll get a higher quality version. But again, I don't know how much the paper is going to show up through that. So
yeah, the paper probably won't really be visible through that because it'll just be the design. So John, you told me you have your number one between these two options. I also have my number one between these two options, but we don't know if we're in agreement yet or not.
Correct. And I think it's important to say, like you kind of mentioned it already, but just to be clear, when Niagara sent us a bunch of different samples, and we narrowed it down pretty quickly, and we did discuss narrowing it down, right? Yeah. So we've been in a fortunate kind of circumstance this entire journey, Will, honestly. I feel like I was expecting a little bit more battles between us because we do have some differences, especially in terms of like aesthetics and bottle labels and design. But I was pleasantly surprised that so far it feels like we're really in the same category with the vision of this whole thing, which is nice. Now we're at, like you said, we've got these last two choices that we've narrowed it down to, which I think I can comfortably say we like both of them.
Yeah.
But getting the physical paper now and seeing the physical samples has led me to a solid number one choice. But I don't know if that's your solid number one
I know,
choice.
yeah. Okay, so do we want to... I think we should just sort of like reveal the design, first of all.
Yes.
And we can talk about that a little bit, and then we can try to show what these paper textures look like and make our selection together collaboratively.
Yeah.
It would be funny if this is the one thing that we just absolutely cannot agree on, and we got in a huge fight during this episode over the paper.
I have no comment. I don't want that to happen at all. Like, I'm like, we're so close to the finish line here. I really don't want to trip at the goal line. Like you said, though, let's push the labels out for people to see on here. I know a lot of people just listen to us and don't see this visually. So again, go to social media and you'll see this probably the day after when we drop this episode.
Yeah, or the show notes will have a link to the YouTube version as well if you want to go there. Okay. So, and I should note, by the way, this is the Guyana VSG version,
which we've already announced
of the label. Yeah. So, okay, should I just slowly raise this up, John?
Do it.
Another thing I'll say really quickly is like these come printed like on a sheet, and so I just kind of cut out the shape of this label with scissors.
Yep. Same.
So there's definitely some imperfect
inexactitude.
Edges. Yes, exactly. So okay, here it comes. Get like a drum roll or something going. There it is.
And there it is. So the first thing people are probably going to notice is that there's a slight curvature to this, and that is accounting for the tapering on the bottle that we chose.
Yes.
So because it's not a straight-sided bottle, you have to curve this so that when you put it on the bottle, it looks straight. So it will look on the bottle like it's a straight label all the way across, but there is a slight curvature here when you cut it out. Also, like you said, Will, you'll notice a little bit of the cutout is not perfect, but that's just because we're doing it on our own. It should be a lot better. On the left side of the label, you'll see is a drawing, and that is our good friend James Tour, who drew this for us. It's the Main Rum Company's front entrance.
Yes.
So it's an homage to them. I don't know if it's quite an homage. I'm not sure the right word is, but it's giving them, some of the mystique of this, because that's where we went during our Liverpool trip, so you can see on that side. In the middle here, and Will, you're doing a great job of holding this up. Thank you.
My arms are getting tired.
Is the Rumcast Reserve single cask rum. In this case, it's Guyana VSG. We wanted to highlight the origin and the rum as one of the most important things here. And the logo, of course, top center. We debated back and forth about how to use the logo. We felt like we should probably go with it. And then you see the main two categories on the bottom here: distillation on one side, maturation on the other. And we were doing our best here to not have fluff, but at the same time, there's some narrative here. And so we tried to blend those things into exactly what they should be. I'm not going to read the whole things out, but you'll see those soon. On the right-hand side is a QR code along with your opportunity, or anybody who picks up the bottle, to use that QR code and to a link online to probably this episode and many others that talk about the rum specifically, as well as all of the boilerplate stuff, the government warning, the UPC, and the important stuff for Raising Glasses, who is the importer for it, and that's pretty much it. Well, of course, on the bottom, product of Guyana, very important, and the ABV and the size.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything, Will?
Well, I will say over here, so the side with the illustration, which has Main Rum in it, you'll notice there's a sidebar on the label that says Journey Number 1, Liverpool, UK. And so I think this is another tie-in into like the choice of illustration, where the whole concept of these episodes, these releases, was we're going to go to a place, a famous rum location, and we're going to come back from that place with something. And we want to take you on that journey with us. And so again, if future releases, if God willing, this one does well, and we decided to do this again, we would go to a new place, and this would be kind of a recurring thing where wherever place we go, it's going to say Journey Number X, this place, and have some kind of visual representation on that side of the label of a significant location in that journey. And obviously the significant location in this journey was actually going to Main Rum, which is why that's there. So Yeah, so much required information that like we initially didn't factor in. Then we're like, oh wait, we have to put the government warning, which is not small, by the way.
It
For a
took a lot of real
375
estate. Yeah.
milliliter label, you can see over there.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that you had to have the importer, the bottler, and like the locations of those places. Product of Guyana is required as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little, like obviously we knew that the 375 ml and the ABV and everything was going to have to go on there, but just like because of our bottle choice, it doesn't leave a ton of real estate on the label relative to other bottle shapes. And just so people can see, like John was saying, why it's curved, we also didn't realize we're going to have to curve the label until we tried to print a straight version and wrap it around this slightly tapered bottle. And when you do that, it like flares up at the back. And so let me see if I can kind of reproduce this. Now when you wrap it around, it's nice and even when it comes all the way around the bottle. And also this is roughly what it will look like. So dead on, it's just the information, just, you know, big Rumcast Reserve, Guyana VSG, Rumcast logo. You turn it to the side and like the location, the illustration comes into view. And then you've got the QR code over here, which that's where we'll also put like all the, like every single spec of information that we have about this cask will go on that page as well as like John was saying, links to these episodes where we've taken people behind the scenes and everything. Yeah. So I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out overall. It was definitely, I think the label was the toughest part, oddly, of the whole experience, I would say.
Yeah.
Like picking the rums, fairly straightforward, actually. You know, we
were lucky it was straightforward, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah.
us, in a way.
Yeah. But just going from absolutely nothing to a finished label, there's just so many different decisions and choices, and even like the text there on the label describing the distillation and maturation. You know, there's a million different combinations of phrasings and information that you can include there. So trying to do it in a way where it was going to give rum enthusiasts the information that we think is most important if they want to know like the details behind this rum, while also trying to present it in a way that's a little bit more narrative driven without getting into like too
fluff.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't want it to just be like bullet points, you know, but we didn't want it to be straight fluff either. So like trying to find that balance was difficult, but at the end of the day, like I'm pretty proud with where we landed.
I am too. I'm really excited because I feel like it's I don't know how to say the right thing, classy, but you know, like it's distinguished would be a good word, I would say. It's got a distinguished feel to me, which is what I was hoping for from our product to begin with. It's two colors, you know? So it's just the navy and the white or off-white-ish color there. And I like that. It's what I've gravitated towards with other things that I feel are just, you know, kind of more about the rum and less about the other things, right? We have to tie it back to us, and so I think we successfully did that, but still focused on the rum.
Yeah. And I will say, like, if you notice this red line when you're looking, that's just that's just like the cut or whatever. That the red line isn't actually going to be on the label. But yeah, I agree. It has a distinguished feel. I also think the illustration gives it a little bit of I'm trying to think of the right word, like personality, I think. Also felt good to like pay an actual artist to, you know, draw something original in the kind of moment that we're going through right now. So yeah, that was really fun. Okay. It's time to duke it out. Paper versus paper. In one corner, John, we have the white felt, which is what I was showing.
White felt. It's a little like a bumpy-ish texture, right?
Yeah. Kind of actually, if you're familiar with like the Foursquare ECS labels, they have a similar texture on those. In the other corner, weighing in at, I'm sure, very similar, we have the white linen paper. So I'm going to try to like hold this up as close to the, can I get like some light
It's
No.
hard to see, but what I will say is on the linen version, instead of it being bumpy, what you see is kind of like perpendicular lines. You know,
Almost
most
like
of them
a grid. Yeah.
yeah, like a grid, but it's not a perfect grid.
No.
If you've seen linen before, you know what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right? So it's that linen finish that has those straight lines, but they're barely visible. They're really not unless you were trying to pay attention to it.
You gonna give me your who's going first?
Do we say so? It's felt or linen? Do
Yeah.
we just blurt it out on 3 here?
I think that's the way to go.
Okay,
So we're gonna say 1, 2, 3, and then say it.
Then say the thing.
Okay.
Right? Yep.
We're saying our number 1.
We're saying this is our number 1, the one we want.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
1,
2, 3.
Felt.
Linen.
Oh my
Shit!
god.
All right.
All right.
Listen. I'm going to give you the reason why the linen is the better of the two here. I want you to look at those 2 labels. They're both good, okay? I will grant you that the felt feels a little nicer to the hand, but how many times do you actually feel a label versus looking at it? And here's the reason why I think the linen works better. Look at the sharpness of the things on there. Look at the word Guyana, for instance, and see where Guyana actually looks tighter and better. It's not bleeding into the paper as much. It's very tight in terms of, and I'm just giving you one example, but look at all of the words, especially the small print, and you see that the small print looks much cleaner to the eye than the felt version.
I actually think the opposite.
Well, are you sure you have the right ones?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, number one thing is there's a minor difference in the background color. It's whiter to me on the linen than it is on the felt. So I've got sunlight right now, and I can see a difference. I don't know. No, you're not going to be able to see it on this crappy camera.
Well, okay, so can I...
Yeah, you got to make your argument.
Yeah, because my argument is very different from yours. So for me, it's not about the texture of the labels. I like the texture of both of them. For me, the linen doesn't look fitting of a rum label to me. It looks like, or our rum label, it looks like it belongs on a wedding invitation.
What?
As opposed to this. And the biggest thing for me is the linen, as you were saying, it has these perpendicular lines. Mm-hmm. And it's not like a grid like graph paper, but it is kind of like vertical lines, horizontal lines. And because we have this illustration that also has lines, I feel like the lines kind of clash with that in a way that bugs me.
I don't see that at all. Not even 1%.
To me, the linen just doesn't feel like a spirit label. Again, it's like wedding invitation. It's like stationary, or it just doesn't give me the right. It doesn't give me the right vibe.
See, I couldn't be more in the opposite direction here in terms of vibe. Well, let me state that I'm not saying the felt is a bad vibe. I still like the felt quite a bit. I just don't see your perspective yet of the linen being a bad vibe, like, or an inappropriate or incorrect vibe.
Yeah, again, it's not bad. It doesn't feel quite right to me, is what I'll say.
Yeah. In your lighting, do you see a sheen? Look at the blue ribbon for where it says Guyana. Mm-hmm. Do you see a difference in the sheen on the 2 of them as it reflects light as you move it around?
Let me see. Yeah, I think the linen has a little bit more sheen.
So that's what I was pointing out. To me, I like that. I think in a label that is kind of distinguished and stark, that lends a little bitty something to it, a flash, I guess, is what I would say. That we couldn't afford embossing, right? We couldn't do any of the really interesting stuff in that way. Not that we would have. If we could have, we would have had to look at it. But my point is, I think I appreciate a little bit more of the sheen on it as well.
Yeah, I agree there's a little bit more sheen, but I don't know that, like, for me, I can see the texture of the felt a little bit more.
Agreed.
It stands out a little bit more.
What we should do is release one of these with felt and one with linen.
Oh, man. That would be funny, actually. I wonder if that option is available to us.
They said it's the same cost.
Yeah, the papers are the same cost. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to do that, actually. If
Well, let's
like
do
it's
it.
feasible from a printing standpoint,
Yeah.
then we just have to argue over which rum gets the
Which
felt
gets-
and which one gets the linen, right?
Or you just, roll a dice or whatever and just, yeah.
That would actually be really fun because then we could have people who buy
Exactly.
both settle the debate for us.
I think that's the way to go.
Oh my
here.
God, this is a great, yeah. And it's also just a fun Easter egg. Like, because some people are going to get the bottles and
Yeah,
be like,
they're gonna be like,
They're going to be
"Why?"
like, why the fuck is there's two slightly different textures on these labels? But yeah, and then, if we do another release, we can do an unofficial poll. And if there's just universal reaction of one being better than the other, then we can.
So much shit is coming to one of us in that case. Yes.
I
Team
will-
felt and team linen. Here we go.
I will say that we looked at the cost of doing what they call like a hot foil stamp, which
Right.
would be kind of like a metallic-y, shiny finish on like the Rumcast logo, maybe the Rumcast Reserve letters. It literally doubles the cost of
Yeah.
the printing to do that. So at our numbers, I think the cost of this is going to be somewhere around $1,000, and it would have upped it to over 2,000. So
Yeah,
it's just kind of like, I mean, it would look cool, I think, but ultimately we have to add on a few more dollars cost to every bottle, and it's just one more cost. So we felt like
agreed.
it wasn't ultimately worth it.
Yes, and the label works without any of that.
Yeah,
honestly, we almost designed it thinking we knew going in. Well, I don't know. We know what the price was, but we knew
Yeah.
going in there was a possibility we weren't going to be able to afford that stuff, or
Yeah.
didn't want to, right? Because again, we are being price conscious on behalf of everyone, or at least trying for
Yeah.
that route. So, all
Maybe-
right. So I think we have a decision. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
here's what we can do. So I agree. I love doing one of the single cask bottles linen and one felt.
okay.
If that isn't allowable for some reason, because I could also see a scenario where they're like, sorry guys, like you have to just pick one. It's too
Yeah.
complicated to do two different papers.
yeah.
If that's the case, maybe maybe we go with one of these for this release. And it can
Okay.
be linen. It can be
Yeah.
linen.
Okay.
And then the next release, if there's a next release, then we go to felt. So we have two separate releases, two separate papers.
Or even if we were to do one each this time, if it was allowable, then if there is a future release, we do a completely different paper choice.
Yeah, we could just keep
And
going.
that's your theme. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I can't believe we spent this much time talking about paper
I know.
choice.
Yeah, we'll edit it down a little bit
Yeah,
to get some of
yeah.
the more boring details out. But okay, so we're gonna go to Niagara and we're gonna say, hey, can you accommodate this very bizarre request from us?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
see what they come back with. I really hope that they do that because that would be an actual really fun wrinkle. Because like every time I showed the two bottles to people for the first time,
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh, cool, and like want to ask all these questions. I'll be like, but wait. Which label has the better paper? This is the most important thing that must be answered about these.
I mean, I assume it's going to be a noticeable difference between the two, like fairly noticeable.
I think it'll be the kind of thing where like if they're just sitting next to each other, you're not going to notice it in
From like
passing.
across the room.
Yeah,
right.
but if
Yeah.
you like walk up and you hold each of them at the same time and are looking at them side by side, you might be like, huh, these look a little different. So
Yeah. Just to be clear, I like both of these. I just had one that was better than the other one for me. So
Yeah.
I don't want anybody coming back later and saying, what? John's crazy. He didn't like the felt. Or, Will, you're crazy for not liking the linen.
I won't say I dislike the linen. I'll just say like if 10 out of 10 is I'm in love with how it looks and 1 is I hate it. I would say the felt is at like an 8 for me, and the linen is at like a 6.
Damn, bro. No, I'm at like 8 for both of these. Maybe 9 for both of these. I really
Okay.
like them both.
Well, that
We're now
concludes
paper
the label
experts.
portion. Yeah. So
Why don't you take a quick break and then we can get back to announcing this for people?
let's do it. Hey everyone, just a quick update before we hear from the sponsor of this episode. So John and I did check with our printer and they are able to print on both of the papers for right around the same cost. It's really not going to cost us much extra money. So we are going to do it. But as you might have anticipated, we had trouble agreeing on which paper would go on which cask. So we recorded a coin flip to decide it all, and we have tacked that on to the end of this episode, so be sure to listen to the end to find out which paper is going on which bottle. Very crucial information. Listen to the end. All right, now here's a quick read for the sponsor of this episode. Hey rum friends, if you're looking for a way to taste a lot of great rums, cocktails, and hang out with fellow enthusiasts, look no further than the 3rd annual Boston Rum Week coming up September 14th through 21st. It's an entire week-long celebration dedicated to rum and sugarcane spirits that brings together bars, restaurants, brands, enthusiasts, and more. And this year, it's featuring over 15 rum events all over the Boston area. They've got Mai Tai and daiquiri competitions, a rum party inside the Bully Boy distillery, and it all culminates in a one-day conference with a grand tasting featuring over 150 bottles from 40 different brands, and an afternoon of tasting seminars where every session includes a paired flight of rum or rum cocktails. It's always great when the seminar comes with rum, guaranteed every time. So, Boston Rum Week is a 100% grassroots event run by rum-loving volunteers for fellow rum lovers with the mission of raising rum awareness in New England. Again, it's running September 14th through 21st, and you can get your tickets at bostonrumweek.com, along with more details on the agenda. That's bostonrumweek.com. Go check it out and get your tickets today. Now back to the show. All right, we're back and ready to get into the reveal of what will be the second single cask release to come out of the Rumcast Reserve inaugural batch of releases, which when I say second, by the way, these are coming out together.
Yeah.
This is just the second one that we've announced, because when we went into this journey, John, we actually had no intention of coming back with multiple casks.
Exactly.
It was, we're going to go buy one cask, release one cask. So how did we even end up picking two?
Yeah, so there was a lot of thoughts with this. I was kind of trying to dig back, and I know, like you said, we didn't set out to do 2 barrels, right? We set out with the mission of going and finding a single barrel. And hopefully that barrel, really being what we wanted, and that we would agree even, all of those things were in question. And we also had to afford it, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of different things that we were considering for this one barrel, let alone a second. And while I think, we talked about possibly 2, it felt unlikely to me. And the reason I would say it felt unlikely was because if we were going to do a second barrel, then there was all of these conditions, and I'm going to actually just list them and see. I think we're on the same page with these.
Okay.
Which I thought if we had a second barrel we were going to even choose, we had to meet all of these conditions in my head. Number 1 was it was going to be roughly equal to our first pick. Like, both of our selections would have to be roughly as good as each other, right? Same ballpark. And, people would have their favorites, of course, but you wouldn't want one that we felt super strongly about and one we were just tepid on, right?
Right.
Or tepid's probably too strong, but you get the point I'm trying to make, right?
Yeah, we had to roughly rate them around the same.
Yeah, in order for it to be viable, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I think we would always come back to like, well, we really believe in this one.
We didn't want a favorite child scenario.
Exactly. That's perfectly put. Yes. So that's one condition, is it had to be something that, 2 barrels that were independent that we believed in. It had to be 2 that were different enough to make sense some way, right?
Yeah.
We weren't trying to do a variation or a vertical or, a vintage or something, right? Small differences like that. We were looking for, 2 things that made sense, but that were different in a different way. I mean, I'm not saying, we couldn't have found something like that, but it wasn't our goal.
Yeah.
So it had to make sense in some way. Number 3 was ready to be decanted from the barrel at the same time.
Oh,
because if we had found one that we were like, man, this is really good, but we think it needs time.
Yeah.
Versus one that was ready to go, that would be a problem.
We don't have time. Yeah.
Right. Number 4, we needed to strongly agree on all of the above. Right. And agreeing on 1, let alone 2, felt like it might be unlikely. Right.
Fortunately, agreeing on rums is so much easier for us than agreeing on paper.
At least so far. Another one, Will, that didn't come to mind initially, is they had to be roughly the same volume. That is roughly the amount of bottles that would be available for sale, right? We didn't want people to go nuts if one of our selections was only 200 bottles and the other was 400.
Yeah.
It's not something that occurred to me until afterward, but like, that to me would feel weird if we had done that. And it would have to be really compelling for us to have made that choice. Fortunately, these two had about the same amount of bottles in the end. So that's a good thing. And then the last one I thought of is they need to be about the same price point. Again, not something we discussed explicitly going in, but if one was, double the price of the other, I think we would have had a harder time with that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
for sure. They needed, I think just generally everything needed to be in the ballpark of each other for these releases, from taste to quantity, price, everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of different things, and yet it seems like, well, it doesn't seem like we did come out with these two barrels that are meeting all of these conditions. So, a lot of this was luck, right? In the sense of,
It really was, and, we've shared in our kind of first episode after this trip, we shared a lot of audio from the warehouse, right? Us tasting through various casks. We had a second day tasting where essentially after the first day, we told Main Rum, hey, here's the ones that we really loved the most today. And we'd love if you guys could pull some barrel samples of these, and we're going to come back tomorrow morning and do a much more controlled, indoors, analytical tasting where we're not as blinded by the majesty of the warehouse and smashing the casks with a hammer and just all
they do a good job,
all the romantic qualities and things that make you fall in love with the experience. We wanted the cold, calculated, really analyze these rums, put them through the ringer, and we wanted to independently rank them and then compare with each other, like, hey, here's my favorites, here's your favorites, let's really narrow it down and decide which cask we want. And again, it was still very much like zeroing in on one cask at this point. I think even after the first day, like maybe we kind of started to entertain a little bit the idea of doing two, but it still wasn't like a very firm idea in our minds at that point as like a definite thing we were going to do. So we did come back to the two Main Rum's offices the next day, which are located walking distance from the warehouse, and sat down with 13 samples when we came back. I'm going to share my screen so people can see this final list and quickly run. I'm not going to run through like all of the nitty gritty details of every cask, but just at least so you know the origins and the rough information. So these are in no particular order, by the way. But at the top, we had this B2C Guyana blend that we discussed in our previous episode. So that was another DDL rum. We had a Australia Bean Lee aged in one of Main Rum's, what they call a wine malt cask. So this is a ex-English malt whiskey cask that comes from Cotswolds Distillery. And these particular casks that they call wine malt casks, before they aged the English malt whiskey, they were ex-wine casks. So that's where wine comes in. First, they aged wine, then they aged English malt whiskey, and now they are aging rum. The second, there was another Australia Bean Lee that was aged in a ruby port cask. Both of those were really good, by the way.
They were.
I think we discussed that.
Those were excellent.
Yeah, the previous episode. Then we had our Guyana VSG. That's the one that we've already shared that we selected. The Versailles still aged entirely at Main Rum. Just shy of 10 years. Great rum. Can't wait for people to taste it. Then we had a PM, Port Morant, Guyana, that was also aged in one of those wine malt casks. We had a Clarendon that I think was like 17 years old. It had a good chunk of age at origin, like 11 years in Jamaica, I think. It was that was a sledgehammer of a rum. We had a very bizarre TDL Trinidad rum that was aged in Armagnac and Cognac and then Oloroso sherry casks. And as we shared in our previous episode, it had an unmistakable tasting note of weed or cannabis or whatever you want to call it on that rum. Also, the most expensive rum that we tried, if you're looking at my screen right now, the estimated price is in the far right column. Very pricey rum, that one. But it was also a very big cask because it was one of those big Oloroso sherry casks. So then we had a Caribbean blend that was just a blend of rums that Maine created themselves. We had a Martinique from Distillery Simone, which is the makers of Clement, that John, I believe you said was the best rum, from the place that makes Clement that you've ever had. So,
ever. Yep.
And I would agree with that. It was very, very good. Then we had a couple of Mauritius rums that were both from Le Bourdonnais distillery. The first one was one of those wine malt casks, and the second was a Madeira cask. So 2 cane juice rums, same distillery, very different casks, which led to a very different result with them. Then we had just one more Caribbean blend as well. So that was kind of like the final contenders. We sat down, we tasted, we recorded it, and we're going to cut over to some highlights of that tasting session where we independently ranked, and then the recording you'll hear is when we came together after we'd gone off into different corners with our little notebooks, which I have my little notebook, my tasting note notebook right here that was provided by Main Rum. You've got yours as well.
Same here. I got
the
it.
ultimate souvenir.
Yeah.
So we're going to listen to some highlights from that. John, before we cut over to that, anything else that you want people to know?
Yeah, I mean, I think you covered it perfectly, and I'm, let's go to the flashbacks. I have some comments, but I know we're going to share them after.
All right, let's do it. Do you want to start at 1 or start at 8?
Yeah, okay. Let's go from bottom to top.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll go with my bottom tier has 2 in it
Okay.
right now. The first one of them, it's not going to be a surprise to you, and it is the Clarendon Jamaica.
Yeah.
Look, it's really good. It's a beautiful rum, but I feel like I've experienced that rum before.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like there's anything here that I think we would be thinking, man, people have to try this, because it's something different at all. It's just a really good Jamaican Clarendon rum.
Yeah. So I have 5 tiers, and 4 and 5, there's one rum in each of them.
Okay.
And they were very close to being in the same tier.
Okay.
I have the Clarendon as my tier 4 rum. So it would be, if we're ranking 1 through 8, it would be in 7th for me.
Okay.
So I basically agree with everything you said. And also, as I was trying it again, I got a very overwhelming Sharpie magic marker kind of note to it.
Sometimes I get that, yeah.
So I gave you that one. I'll go ahead and give you my bottom tier, which is tier 5, and there's just one rum. And that is number 12, the Trinidad.
Okay. We're in lockstep so
Really?
far.
Really?
Yeah.
I know we talked about the weed note with that one yesterday.
Cannabis.
It was overwhelming to me on the finish of that rum just now when I had it. I don't believe you've ever had an edible.
Not.
It tastes like an edible does. Like it has that flavor to it. I don't know how it got in there. Obviously, I don't think it was added to it.
Yeah.
But
Somebody slipped it in the barrel. No.
and just on top of that, I had a really hard time recognizing TDL in that rum. Between the cognac, the Armagnac, everything else, it was just very hard for me to recognize kind of the characteristics that I associate with that rum.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, at least we're in agreement
So
on
far, yeah.
least favorites.
Okay. So for me, jumping up to the next tier, I
Yeah.
only had 3 tiers really.
Okay.
And so that was my bottom tier, those 2 that we just went over. The next tier is a bit more of an interesting, not confusing is too strong a word, but like I'm not settled on it. There's some things that I go back to that I really find and enjoy, and some things that I'm kind of like, I don't know if I enjoy it as much as some of the other things that made it higher on the list. So I'll start with the Caribbean blend. I put on here some of the notes that I have. This is both from yesterday and today. Some things were very similar. I put it's a very delicate or light nose still.
Yeah.
I picked up on that yesterday. I'm kind of happy that I still am in the same place with it because I was not trusting myself yesterday. It's got that must kind of note on it. I get a cherry wood on the nose with that one. Or a cherry kind of in there somehow. When I get to the palate, I think it's got a bit of a heavy hand or a heavy attack, and I can kind of get into the alcohol there and don't feel like it develops as much as I want it to.
Yeah.
It's still like in that middle range to me of, do I really enjoy this enough?
So
to be the pick.
I have the exact same.
I mean, we're doing something right, apparently. Yeah.
So that's my only tier 3 rum, and it would be 6 out of 8. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why, like, tier 3 is where we get into kind of like neutral territory for me.
Yeah.
I kind of feel neutral about it.
Yep.
The ones below it, while I don't necessarily think they're bad rums, they had specific things about them that I did not enjoy. This one doesn't have anything I don't enjoy.
Okay.
It just doesn't really have anything that I love.
When you're doing what we're doing right now, you have to start separating things that are already you're enjoying, they're good, but you have to start making some differences in them. So just to be clear for everyone, it's none of what we're having here today is bad in any way. It's just about trying to find those small
Gotta find nits to pick.
Yeah. All right. Back to you, I think.
Okay. This is my tier 2, which has 2 rums in it, and the lower of the 2, so this would be number 5 out of 8.
Okay.
Is number 15, so it's the other blend.
Okay.
So this is, I forget the blend components of this actually. What are the blend components of the one from Scotland?
TDL, Worthy Park, Word, and DDL is what I have written down.
Okay, I think that sounds right. This one, I think it has some commonalities with the previous blend we just discussed, but I got more kind of deep fruity character on the nose. There was a little bit of nuttiness that reminded me of sherry on there. It's my clear favorite between the 2 blends that we tried.
Yep.
But yeah, my number 5 out of 8.
My number 5 is exactly tracking where you are. It's the other Caribbean blend, MRCB. So far we're pretty much
Andy's
almost
shaking his head over here.
I've got the boxing gloves ready.
And Andy saw. We did this completely separately.
It was an impressive tasting. It was like completely doing your own thing. It was impressive to watch.
Yeah. So with what you said, I think that mostly holds up to what I have. I have some notes here that this is a super solid blend.
Yeah.
I had molassesy on the nose, like I was getting the molasses characteristic, but now that you mentioned the nuttiness, that's also what I was picking up on, but I wasn't able to express it. So now that you said it, I was like, yes, that's the note I was getting that I wasn't able to get there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's crazy that we're exactly the same pretty much.
Yep.
Okay. What's your next one? Your number 4.
Vaulting into my top tier, which I have 4 in right now. And again, these are in the moment. Could change a little bit as we add these other ones that we're going to get to in a minute also. But my number 4 is one of the 2 Binleys, Aussie. And it's going to be the port finish one.
Sorry. It's my same fucking one that I have.
Well, can I just, so that we can maybe just, my number 4 and my number 3 are both the Aussies. So hopefully that changes.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Okay. So then let's do the number 4 then, which is the Aussie port. And I'm talking a little bit about both of these, is why I was mentioning that, because my number 3 is the other one.
Yep.
And they are both really complex Binley rums that I feel these. I'm trying to put it into words. These are the ones that I feel the Main Rum influence on.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I like that about it, number 1, because it kind of meets what we were hoping for. They are really, really good rums. I get that layered, complex palate to them with waves coming through. The whiskey, this is the port. The port is supremely balanced with it, which I don't often see in port finished rums. They're hit or miss. We talked about this before.
Don't say finish.
Right, sorry. That's right. Secondary maturation port.
This wasn't even secondary though. It was just the port.
Just
test
port
the whole time, right?
That's right. Is it just port all of it?
Or did it have a?
I don't remember. Okay, but whatever it is, I mean, all the more impressive if it was all aged in port as opposed to a secondary maturation, because it's not overtaking it. It is the right amount of a port balance that I want in there that gives the rum a sweetness to it without overtaking the characteristic of the initial distillate. I have the unsurprising nose of Port and Binley, and it's decent. So for me, the nose on this one isn't as interesting as some of the others that we've had.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it's bad. It's just what you expect. It's just kind of like, okay, got it. And then, but with the palate, I feel like it is that so well executed. I put on here, this should be bottled now, period, because I don't want any more port to get into it before and then overtake it.
Yeah. My notes are very similar. The port influence on the palate wasn't as strong as expected, which I enjoyed.
Yep.
Very evolving, long finish, like some grapes coming in there. I went back to it a second time because I had trouble initially figuring out which Beanley I preferred.
So do I. That's why I knocked them together.
So I ended up putting them on separate tiers because just upon repeated tastings, the other one comes out ahead for me. Mm-hmm. And the second time when I went back to this again, the port influence for me is kind of like right there on the edge. You know, if it goes a little bit more, it's going to be too much for me.
So you agree with me? It needs to be bottled.
Yeah. Somebody should bottle it. Yeah. And so if we want to just go, that was kind of the separator for me between the two. I think they have a lot of commonalities.
They do.
And we should also know these are both Beanley column still rums, so these aren't the pot still at Beanley. But it does not suffer from that.
Well, you're number 3. I was confused. Is it the other Finley or no?
So my tier 1 is unranked.
Oh, that's
but
right.
It goes into tier 1, so it's up there. So that's the other Beanley. This is the wine malt one.
Yes.
So the Cotswold cask that aged wine and then aged their single malt and then Main Rum used. Very spicy nose. And Beanley is always kind of a spicy rum for me.
Yeah.
In like the way a rye is spicy, you know? Not like, I'm not talking about
we talk about a white pepper or black pepper notes there. Yeah.
Yeah. This one was very spicy. Again, that kind of musty library book note, jammy strawberries, a lot going on the nose. Palate was fantastic. It's very, I get kind of like a mossy, peachy green. I don't know how to explain it, but spicy. I did write maybe a bit astringent. I kind of want to go back to it for that reason. Okay. But I did just overall, the layers on this one was a bit more layered to me than the port one. Yep. So that was kind of the separator for them. Okay. So the port was your number 4, the wine malt was your number 3.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
And just to back up a little bit of what you're saying about the whiskey wine one here, I literally have the note layered. Yeah. Is what it says. Yeah. So I agree fully with you there. And you mentioned the astringent note. So this is the one thing that was kind of like grabbing me today that didn't yesterday is I'm interpreting it, and I could be wrong, as a bit heavier on the whiskey influence than I remembered.
Yeah, that could be.
Not that I'm saying it's too heavy,
right? But
heavier, and that's where some of that was coming in. Yeah. And that was the only differentiator I found from what I remembered yesterday to today. Was although I can still get the layers, there's the whiskey influence was bigger today for me than it was yesterday. Yeah. Wine is harder to find, the wine influence, really. But I'm sure it's kind of in there just kind of doing its thing because you do get these complicated or complex waves of flavor coming in. I don't have much more to add to that. I really do agree with your notes on it. I don't love the nose again. I wouldn't say this is an amazing nose. I would say it's a good nose. Yeah. I would say slight fruits covering that pepper note that you talked about. I put in here, develops on the palate gorgeously, and which I still agree with. I have a big box on my notes here, and it says fun.
Yeah, it is a fun rum. Okay, so I can give you my next one in tier 1, which again, these are unranked. Let's talk about the Distillery Simon. Okay. So this is our lone rum agricole. Just a really beautiful nose that has some subtleties to it, but still extremely flavorful. I get a lot of kind of like honey, orange flower water, orange marmalade kind of notes from it.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of springtime for some reason. I don't know. I wrote springtime down.
Not sure there. Now I'm going back to see if I get spring.
Extremely easy to drink on the palate. The finish was really evolving, like more baking spices kind of coming in on the finish. Mint, fruit.
I'm going to talk about the Simone, and I'll tell you, in my top tier, this ended up being my number one.
Okay.
Which kind of interesting, aged agricoles, I've been very hit or miss.
Yeah.
So
not a very big Clement guy either.
I've always seen it as my least favorite Martinique distillery product, or brand, I should say. Kind of a surprise. I put here literally one of my favorite ever cane juice, agricole Martinique rums, and amazingly well integrated. It's hard to say anything more than just this is a truly incredible aged agricole.
Yeah.
It was, to me, whether it's the number one or two, it's in that top level of like phenomenal experience.
Yeah. Like I said, my top tier is unranked, but I would have no problem with anyone who had that as their favorite in the lineup.
Yep.
So I guess that leaves us with just one more to discuss. So this is your number two then.
Number two. Yep. In
the
top
VSG.
tier, the VSG Guyana.
Yeah, that's in my top tier as well.
Yep.
So another one that historically can be hit or miss for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. I found this one really surprising with the Versailles still, I think, you know what it is, Will? I think Port Morant sometimes is divisive for me. Sometimes I really enjoy it, and sometimes I find it more difficult.
Yeah.
This one does remind me a little bit more of an El Dorado rum in certain ways, but
it does have a lot of the comfort food notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But way dialed up into another territory of, pleasure with it. Delightful nose, like a really good nose on this one. I could just sit there for this for a while. So this one, to me, hit on all of the phases. It's a stunner.
I had very British notes for the nose on this one. I had fruitcake and sticky toffee pudding.
Which we just had last
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the palate I thought was really, like, it has a lot of those comfort food flavors, but also complexity. It got like star anise, caramel tort, mango, Tootsie Roll.
The last note I had on here was a stellar example of a DDL rum with near perfect aging execution.
Yeah. And I think, Guyana being kind of the origin story of Main Rum makes it a fun connection there.
Yep.
Then picking the cask, it aging entirely over here, like it's a quintessential Main Rum product, I think.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it really shows what they're about. And then the two Mauritius that we tried yesterday, I'll just lead with this before we get to our kind of back and forths. I still find the wow in them that I had yesterday.
I think the two Mauritius are fucking incredible.
They are.
And I really enjoy tasting them back to back like this because one, they're from the same distillery, both cane juice, one the wine malt cask, and one the Madeira cask.
Yeah.
And they are completely different, in a really cool way.
Yeah.
Like the Madeira cask one for me is like fall flavors in a glass. It's like apple pie filling.
You've got this whole season.
Yeah, I do. It's like apple pie filling, like mulled cider kind of. It almost made me think I might have guessed this was like an Amburana rum.
Okay, because I got that similar note. Yep.
Yeah. And then the wine malt Le Bourdonnais, much more. I would kind of put it in that same category as the Simone. It's like a very elegant rum, like soft, like pears, a little bit of peach. There's that like white gummy bear thing
that's a good
going
note.
on with it.
That's a good note.
And you get a little bit of that whiskey influence on the finish as well, just kind of like some spice. Those two, I liked the Guyanas.
Yeah.
The B2C, I feel similarly as yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it's a classic DDL profile.
Yeah.
I do think it's got kind of like a chewy texture to it from that added color.
Okay. Well, when you put it up against the VSG that we seem to love.
Oh, I think the VSG is way better.
Okay.
Personally.
Well, we're not fighting yet.
Okay.
So.
The PM, it's classic PM. It's interesting that it's the wine malt cask because the influence of the wine malt here was very subtle to me. And I really enjoy it. It's like extremely creamy, like a very creamy PM.
Yeah.
I actually, so I put these into my tiers. The PM went into my second tier.
Okay.
5th place overall. So my second, it's like just behind the Beanley Ruby Port, basically. The B to C went into tier 3, ahead of the Caribbean blend. And the 2 Mauritius both went into tier 1.
Yeah.
I think I have a slight favor between the 2 Mauritius to the wine malt cask over the Madeira, but I like them both a lot.
Okay. Well, just so I'm.
Sorry, I laid it all out.
No. You're fine, I think, and I'll start with just the kind of these 4. I had both the Guyanas in the lower tier and the Mauritius just so good in the top tier.
Okay.
So basically, the Guyanas, I had the Port Morant, followed by the next one up would be the B2C. But like you said, the B2C is good, but the VSG still is better for me. So I can kind of throw it out from that standpoint of I'd just rather go with the VSG if I had to do.
I agree 100%.
Okay.
If we were going to do a Guyana, for me, it's the VSG.
Yeah. That said, I just, like you mentioned, the 2 Mauritius rums here are just, they're bowling me over with how good they are, and I really had a hard time with separating out which one I wanted to put first.
Do you agree that they're extremely different?
They are different. I would probably drop extremely, and I would say they are quite different.
Okay.
I don't find an extreme difference.
Man,
the Madeira is just so. It's doing something to it that is affecting it. You mentioned like the fall notes.
Yeah.
I put here just to back you up on that. Baking spices,
incredible
nose. It's a little bit sharp on the palate, the ex Madeira one. And I put maybe another year or 2 question mark just to see if that helps tame it a little bit. I don't want to overtake with the Madeira, but just to get the integration of the alcohol and some of that. I put lots of baritone notes. It's got a little bit of
like more bass. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah,
like it's gonna be singing way down
here,
and enjoying it all. Danny boy. So I really like it because you don't see that so often. At least for me.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's really sticking out. However, just to go all through all that to say, I think I like the wine malt. It's more elegant.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Amazing palate development. Phenomenal. I put love. The balance is perfect on this. So I don't have a lot of great notes in terms of tasting notes like you said, but I just know it when I see it or taste it. And it's just a really, really good example of a Mauritius rum. It's super well executed. Again, we're not far off here.
Yep.
For putting it into context of the other ones, I think right now the Mauritius 2 go in my top tier. So I have 6 top tier.
Yep.
The 2 Aussies, the 2 Mauritius, the Guyana VSG, and the Simone.
Yep.
The other Guyanas are just in the second tier down amongst those 2 blends in that area. That's where I'm at.
I mean, we're pretty much exactly the same. I'm just a little lower on the B2C.
Okay.
Which is funny because when we were ruling out rums earlier, I was like, I don't think we should scratch that one yet. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we have at least 5 great rums to choose from.
Yeah.
The
5 or
5
6.
in my I could take the argument for 6.
Yep.
Throwing in the Ruby Port, Australia. But yeah, to me, that's the top tier. And I would be comfortable ruling out all the ones below it at this point.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Just based on other factors which we haven't talked about much, but I think there's just a good cause for us to say we found I'm going to say 6. that we could move forward with and start to figure out where we're going.
I do think it'll be tough for the Australias and maybe the Simone, because they are all three quite expensive.
Okay.
So, but I'm not ready to rule them out yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the two Mauritius rums, the VSG, all three pretty affordable and all excellent.
There's something I really love. We mentioned yesterday that the main rum story starts with Guyana.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it finishes with Mauritius because it's ongoing, but Mauritius seems to be one of the newer origins that's been invested by Main Rum and sort of the latest in that origin kind of story of what they're doing, which is kind of a cool idea in general.
And Andy, you were saying yesterday, I think you've made quite an investment in Mauritius casks. It's funny because I was thinking to myself as I tried the two Mauritius rums, I was like, this would be a really cool dual release to be able to
take that also at some
But
point.
when you just said taking a Guyana and a Mauritius, and it's kind of like the beginning versus the current.
I don't know what you would say.
Where you have a Guyana rum that is very like, it was shipped here unaged, but it was, an ex-bourbon cask and a heavy char, but it's a little bit more standard aging. And then you have this Mauritius cane juice, non-Caribbean origin, either wine malt cask or Madeira cask. That is a cool kind of showing the evolution, right?
Agreed. So, well, not our intention necessarily coming in. We didn't have that thought at all, but it seems to have worked out in that way that at least it should be a consideration as we're thinking this through for, one single pick or possibly two.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to cut this.
All right, so you heard us talking about that list of rums there and some of the insights we gave then. So, Will, I think it's finally time for us to go ahead and do the full reveal here, the second barrel pick for us ever, which I guess I say second only because we're revealing it second after the Guyana, but as you mentioned, it's a little weird to call it second because they happen at the same time.
Yeah.
It is, again, second drum roll in an episode. Let's do it. It is the Mauritius X-Wine Malt Cask Rum. So, yes, this is
mind-blowing sounds.
A cane juice rum, first and foremost. So, if you look at our Guyana, it's a molasses, kind of traditional rum. This is a cane juice column still rum. So let's go through some of the interesting facts on it here. And Will, you can jump in with some of these. But obviously, starting with the origin, it's on the island of Mauritius. Yes. And I'm going to guess most rum enthusiasts listening to this, they've had some Mauritius rum, most of them, right? But Will, there's something, kind of special about this Mauritius rum as well. Well, maybe a few things are special about it.
A few things special, definitely.
But why don't you talk a little bit about the specific distillery and origin on Mauritius?
Yeah, so as we said, this is from the Le Bourdonnais distillery, which is a very fun name to say. I know how to spell it by heart now, John. Can you spell Le Bourdonnais right off the dome?
I believe I can.
Let's see. Try it.
LABOURDONNAIS.
Boom.
Yes.
The whole thing. You got the double N's. You got the OU. Beautiful work. So
La Bourdonnais.
La Bourdonnais.
Fortunately, we're not going to have to say it that much.
French
right?
accent's not my strong suit. But so I think most American rum enthusiasts, at least, the Mauritius rums that they've had have probably been from Grays. Maybe some from Medine as well, which makes the penny blue rums. But I think
Chamarel, some here and there.
Chamarel, because Vellier did some releases from them. Roaming Road has done a Medine. I know Holmes Key has done multiple Grays releases.
Yes.
Did they do a Medine as well?
I feel like it's only been Grays so far.
So I think there's 6 or 7 distilleries on Mauritius, but Le Bourdonnais, they have their own distillery branded rum, and there have been some IBs that have done Le Bourdonnais releases, but the overwhelming majority, and in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but I think that our rum might be the first cask strength single cask Le Bourdonnais release available in the US, which again did not factor into why we chose this rum. It was
Correct.
just kind of a happy coincidence.
Yeah, so it's exciting to have a product that hasn't really been available in this way for a cask strength, right, in the U.S. You mentioned some in the EU, right? I know there was that Boutique Rum did one, and then there might have been another one in the
Duchess,
EU.
There have definitely been some EU bottlers that have done some Le Bordelais releases for sure.
But pretty thin overall here on the United States, if any, that
I
you
do
can
want
get
to
your
point
hands on.
out, so the aficionados group, when they did their XXX rum releases, which were sold via Fine Drams, they had a Mauritius, I believe it was XXX6, and it was a cane juice Mauritius rum. And I never saw an official confirmation of the distillery of origin, but there were some rumblings in various reviews online that it might have been Le Bordelais. However, you did have to order that from Fine Drams, which is a store in the EU. So I don't think that they had U.S. distribution for those rums, but I could be wrong. So
yeah.
Please continue.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about it. It is a cane juice rum, as I was mentioning earlier. So having that, one be a cane juice and one be a molasses, another happy accident, right? Mm-hmm. Not a planned thing for us, but we just felt like, gosh, this works so well that we almost felt a compelling sense to do it in that way. And then it's a column still, as you might imagine there from Le Bordelais Distillery. 39 plate single traditional still. I think I have that right. I don't think we have too much more information on it, but
it's a single column still, so not the big multi columns or anything like that. Yeah.
Right. But we should probably explain it's not an agricole.
No, Mauritius is not a French overseas department, so therefore they cannot use the descriptor rum agricole. If they want to sell their rums in the EU, which I'm sure they want to be able to do that, and they do that. So you won't find rum agricole on their labels.
Right. And then we've got the aging here, which is going to be, different anyways than some of that stuff would be. So this is aged a total of 5 years and 5 months in an ex-English malt whiskey cask that previously held a red wine. Mm-hmm. So this is a third fill, at least, cask from what we know, which the Main Rum Company supplied that information. I wish we had what red wine it was. We don't. We don't know that. But we do know that ex-English malt whiskey cask was from Cotswolds Distillery in the UK. So that was a kind of a little cool element here as well, and something, you don't see that much of, really. So
and we should also say aged exactly like not exactly like, but in this specific facet, like the Guyana release, they were
entirely
both aged entirely, in Liverpool.
Exactly. So that was another commonality we found here. By the way, the initials of La Bourdonnais Distillery, DDL.
Because it's Domaine de La Bourdonnais. So on their website, they literally, if you go to the La Bourdonnais Distillery website, you'll see DDL on there in some places. So it was crazy. Like
we were like, whoa.
2 DDL rums, essentially.
It just felt
wild.
A little bit of faded in a way.
Yeah.
And again, all of this came after, just to be clear, after we tasted these rums and decided. Yeah. So this was just kind of like cool, chilling stuff that we found out after we had decided on what rums we were going to bottle.
Yeah.
Just as important on the aging side, or not aging side, I wanted to mention that this was distilled back in 2015 and then rested for roughly, we think it's about 3 years and 9 months in inert vessels before it was ever put into wood. Yeah. So that's an interesting thing because I don't think you see something rested that long. Right. And I'm not saying there was a purposeful resting here. We do know that, rested rums can take on some additional things that we think are desirable qualities. But there wasn't a purposeful resting. It just happened to be, I think, the case that when Main Rum finally decided what they wanted to put this in and got it over to them from Mauritius, that it had already been resting in these inert containers for 3 years and 9 months-ish.
Yeah, and it interestingly had like 2 separate resting periods where so it was distilled in Mauritius December 2015, and they stored it in a stainless steel tank, and it stayed in that tank until February of 2017, and they put it in a stainless steel drum and shipped it to the UK. And then once it got to the UK, it stayed in that stainless steel drum for over another 2 years before they filled it into the Cotswolds malt whiskey cask. They did that in September 2019, and then it stayed in that cask until February of 2025 when we purchased it, and they decanted it into a tote for shipping. So just kind of an interesting little detail, because like And this played into when we were going through the label
Exactly.
stuff. Like,
Yes.
do we want to have distillation date, right? Because the
Right.
distillation date of this rum is 2015. So if you see distillation date 2015 and then you see age 5 years and 5 months, you might be like, what the hell's going on? What's going on there, right? So yeah, that ultimately we didn't put date of distillation on either label. If you scan the QR code and you go to the page, that page is going to have like all of these details. So like everything, like if we know it about the rum, it's going to be on there.
Yeah. And then I think, we've said this already, but we're not adjusting ABV. This is coming out of the cask right now. But I think rum enthusiasts will be happy about this. This is coming at 63% ABV.
Yeah.
So this is a whopper in terms of the ABV. Whereas we had talked about the Guyana VSG, 51 or 50-ish in that range is high enough for us to really, really enjoy, but not super, super high.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
I think
63 is, go ahead.
they're just very interesting, contrasting experiences.
Yes, yes.
And we started to kind of realize some of that at the end of that recording that we just shared when we were tasting through these rums, and we had already shared like these are both in our tier 1, and we both love these rums, and just kind of realizing like you've got Guyana, that's like the origin of Main Rum, right? And you've got this Mauritius, which is sort of like a newer Le Bordonnais cane juice. It's a sort of new horizon for them, and they've got a lot more of these casks and doing. It's the English malt whiskey cask and stuff. So it's just a very like sort of the past and the present and future kind of contrast. And then you also have the pot still versus column still, cane juice versus molasses. It's like all these cool little things that we love to compare and geek out over and sing the praises of as rum geeks. Like, I think we're both very much out there about like, it's not about pot still, column still, cane juice, molasses. Like all of these things can be great, right? And you can do amazing things with both of them. So I think it'll be really fun for people to compare both of these two releases. And I think they capture like a very cool snapshot of Main Rum, of the two producers, of our trip. I think it's just like representative of all of it. And it just was, some elements were intentional, but a lot of it was like happy accident that we just happen to like these two that contrast so well with each other.
I couldn't agree more. And, we logistically, we're just very lucky that they're roughly similar in pricing and roughly similar in volume in the cask.
Yeah. Yeah. If we go back to the numbers I was sharing earlier, like the estimated price on the Guyana when they showed it to us, which this changes a little bit when they finalize like the ABV and like the amount in each cask. But like the Guyana was priced at 4,500 pounds. And the Mauritius wine malt was priced at just over 4,000 pounds. So like very similar. I will say the Madeira cask from Le Bordonnais that you heard us talking about and that we also really liked a lot, even though it was different. Those two rums in and of themselves had very cool contrasting experiences.
They did.
But that one was 11,500 pounds, mostly because there was a lot more rum in it than the other one, and it was also older. But so like if we had decided to go with that one, that would have been the only rum we came back with,
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it just, as you were saying, it sort of just fell into our laps in a weird way. That it happened to be that we loved both of these rums that we're going to be releasing. And when I say loved, I mean, like you said, like we did our tiers on that last day where we tasted those, what was it, 13? I had like 8, in my tier 2 and 5. Well, no, let me say that in a different way. Of those 13, I think I checkmarked 8 of them, and then I checkmarked plus 5 of them.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, we started to narrow down. I remember when we were there kind of, getting to our, what do we think we really want to do with this? And it just kind of fell together.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was so funny that our tiers ended up being almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
That was pretty surprising. But I know we're going to do a little tasting of this Mauritius Le Bordonnais.
I've been waiting
I know the
Mauritius rum.
The aromas have just been wafting around.
Yeah.
I will say like a little bit of the production facts about this rum. I know we talked about some of them already. So they source their cane from surrounding fields, fresh pressed juice brought up to the distillery. Relatively short fermentation, 35-hour fermentation, as we said, single column distillation. And they, on their website, it says they produce about 150 to 200,000 liters of rum annually, which is a pretty small amount relative to if you compare it to like a lot of the other distilleries that we talk about regularly. And even though the estate that it's on dates back to the 18th century, the current distillery, Le Bourdonnais, was not opened until 2006. So coming online like roughly around the time like Worthy Park did, coming up on its 20th anniversary. So it's definitely a newer distillery, but it's one that's been kind of in the game long enough to, I think, really have their craft dialed in. And they make some really good rum, man. So I'm excited to dive back into it. I will.
Hell yeah.
I had to pull up my little tasting notes just to revisit and see what I wrote down there. See, I've got these right here. I wrote down, there were a lot of fruit-like notes where I've said kind of like soft pears, almost like fresh peach sort of. And then I remember I got this very distinct like white gummy bear kind of influence. There's definitely a tropical fruit kind of vibe that comes with it.
Agreed.
And what was the word that you wrote down, John?
Elegant.
Elegant.
I wrote down elegant
Yes.
as a single word. So I don't write a whole lot of notes like you. I think you have a stronger sense, always will, of like, white gummy bear is a really good note to pull out, actually. Like, I don't feel like I quite get to those specifics as often as you do. But what I did put was, first of all, that it had a really strong, nice nose to it.
Yeah.
And so it's what started leading me into this, was this lovely nose of like honeysuckle, and then maybe getting those like fruity notes that you mentioned. I was putting honeydew, and then that like hint of something else that it turns out I think it's from that whiskey malt cask, like it's that old cask notes. It's not heavy on the nose, but it gives it enough of a rounding to make it a really elegant, well kind of balanced experience for just the nosing. So I don't know, did you have anything else for the nose on it?
I'm actually getting some really nice, like soft, fresh coconut notes on the nose right now as well that I don't have written down here. But it's very, I did write subtle at first because I think that's kind of where you're coming from with elegant as well.
Yeah.
It's not subtle to where you're like searching, it's not like.
It's not a Hampden nose, right?
It's not a Hampden nose, but it's also not a super light multi-column still searching for anything
not
besides
at all.
oak kind of note. Like there's a lot of character, but it's soft and balanced and like layers, and you just keep coming back to it and finding all these little things, right? It's not hitting you with a sledgehammer, but everything is coming together really nicely on the nose. So
there's certain rums out there that you can just take a long time nosing and just be content, and I believe this is one of them.
I feel like I could just be on a beach somewhere listening to the waves, like smelling this for hours. I should probably taste it though.
Yeah.
So good, man.
It is really good.
It's so good.
So for me, the palate brings, now I get the whiskey cask influence, right? But it's so well balanced. And this is where I'm getting like, I'm salivating a little bit. Usually the indicator of a really good rum when you go in for a sip and then you're salivating. It's where I get the balance of that fruitiness that was hinted at the nose, or even just came through the nose. The cane distillate, it's mild, the cane distillate, right? We talk about how cane juice aging can be really complicated. This one fits our category, right? Aged 5 years. We talk about, kind of that window of young cane juice aged rums and older ones, and this one happens to fit in that range where we seem to like it. So you still get some of the distillate coming in, but so balanced with the aging, and that's what I wrote down on my sheet, was the balance here is delightful. I also get a little tiny bit of like a grapefruit rind or something in there.
Yeah, I can see that. That white gummy bear kind of note really punches through for me. Like I do get more, you taste more of the cask for sure on the palate than the nose. But those nice fruit characteristics really just kind of like, as I was saying, like punch through the center of it. Kind of like a juicy tasting rum for me. Yeah. And I think that word elegant still comes to mind as well.
I agree.
It's definitely like the Guyana rum in contrast is kind of like, I would say it's heavier, and also some of those like kind of deeper bass kind of notes, whereas this is sort of like the highs coming through.
And a little bit more like fresh
exactly.
or something.
Yeah, it's fresh and bright, whereas
Mm-hmm.
the Versailles rum is kind of like dark and
Yeah.
yeah.
In interior design, it's like the Guyana VSG is like the study, you know, like a study with all these books and a little darker furniture, whereas this one's a little bit more like your
Sunroom.
Sunroom. Exactly. I
Yeah.
was searching for the rooms.
Yeah, so I think it's a really great contrast between the two rums.
Mm-hmm.
They really represent different spheres of the rum spectrum.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I'm excited for other people to try these, but I'm just really pleased with how it all came together so naturally for these to be the two rums that we walked away with.
I wanted to say, as far as ABV, so I get the proof here.
Yeah.
But I also think it really drinks well for 63. If it didn't, we wouldn't have chosen it, right? But like, so it's up there in ABV. I would say this is a more in the rum enthusiast category slightly than the Guyana is.
Yeah.
I could see somebody who is less familiar with rum really still enjoying the Guyana and being a little more challenged by this Mauritius, only because it's a higher proof. It's a cane juice rum, which a lot of people are less familiar with. I say this only because if there's people out there that are like, you know, ooh, I'm new to this. Well, this one is probably more in the rum enthusiast category than the Guyana is.
Like the cane character in it comes through for me in a few notes on the palate that I get with a lot of cane juice rums, and I always kind of enjoy it. And it's this sort of like fresh hay bale sort of taste.
Yes, that's a good note.
Yeah, I really like that, and it comes through with all that fruit and everything here. And I kind of taste that, and I'm like, like cane, you know, and I get that. So I definitely agree, though. I think the Guyana rum that we selected, I hesitate to use this word a little bit because I don't want people to think that it's not complex and that rum enthusiasts won't love it too. But I kind of see it as like the crowd pleaser.
It is a crowd pleaser.
It's a crowd pleaser. It's just fucking delicious.
Yep.
And again, there's complexity. It's got all this stuff going on in it. This one, I don't think this is like so bizarre and esoteric or anything, especially if you're a rum enthusiast. But I do think it's the one that's a little bit more, you know, if you're newer to rum, this might not be the one you gravitate toward right away.
I would agree.
But I think it will grow on you for sure. And I think if you're already deep in the weeds as a rum enthusiast, it's not going to be like, wow, this is crazy. What's going on? but it's definitely not your run of the mill kind of thing.
I'm on board with that exactly thing. When you were talking, the word crowd pleaser was on the tip of my tongue. So we are exactly aligned with that. But again, it's hard for us to talk about this without feeling like we're overdoing it possibly or overleading. You know what I mean? That's the danger with it. But yes, I agree with you. If the Venn diagram here is, you know, like entry level to advanced, then the Guyana is going to be a little closer on the side of the entry than would be the Mauritius. But they're both just really good. I honestly hope that people out there, some of the people listening, especially by now in this journey with us, will be able to get both of these. We're hoping to try to make these very reasonable enough to allow people to get both of them, because I think they're just both special experiences in different ways.
Yeah, I don't know if this will be possible or not, so maybe we shouldn't even mention it, but we'd really love to, when you go to purchase these, if there's a way to like do a package deal for both of them for like a slight price break, you know, so we'll try to make that happen.
And then you get to get both paper labels so you can choose in person.
Man, fingers crossed that we can make that happen. Yeah, we got to send an email to Niagara first thing Monday morning. That would be amazing. So does one of the releases just feel more like a linen release to you? I'm kidding.
No, I don't know yet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have more updates. We're getting close to the finish line here, and at this point, it's largely going to be about like how long does TTB approval on the labels take?
Yep.
How long does it take for us to get into the bottler's rotation, and everything like that? And then like how long does it take for the bottles to get shipped to the online store and everything?
Yep.
So
reiterating our plan, right, was, sorry to interrupt you there, Will, but reiterating that our goal is to make this as broadly available for everyone as possible. It's not possible to get to every single market in the United States, but we're trying to do our best with it in quantities that hopefully, you know, are good enough that people have a chance to experience it. So, we looked at Will, possibly being on a few stores that are really solid rum stores more than anything else that, people like rum enthusiasts know. We don't know if we're going to be able to make that happen. It might, but I will say if we do, it's likely to be in small quantities.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and as a reminder, there's two things you can do to kind of be the first to know when this is available. We're going to share with our Patreon subscribers first when it's available, but we also have like a general email list. You can sign up for it at rumcast.com/reserve. You can sign up for free, and a little bit after we've let our Patreon subscribers know, we're going to send an email out to those people as soon as the general release opens. So you can sign up there, rumcast.com/reserve. But yeah, John, we're getting close. We got a lot of exciting things coming up. We've got the 4th annual Rumcast Fantasy Rum Draft coming up, which we'll have more to share. Very excited about that one. I've already been doing some studying, compiling the sheet and everything, so very eager for that to happen. But I think that's everything for this episode, right?
Yeah, I think we covered it all.
All right. Well,
looking forward to hearing back from people. Like, what are your thoughts on it, obviously?
Oh, yeah,
right?
of course. Yeah, let us know your thoughts. You can always email us, host@rumcast.com. Did this origin reveal surprise you? Is there do you have questions about it? Yeah, we'd love to hear your reactions. You can also find us on social media. John, where can they find us?
At the Rumcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can hit us up there on DMs or just make a comment. Join the conversation, as they say, and let us know how you feel about these.
All right. Well, as I said, we'll be back again soon. But until next time, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
What happened was, backing up slightly, we checked with Niagara, our printer, and they said that we can, in fact, print on both papers. So we can do X amount for the Guyana cask and X amount for the Mauritius cask, and they can be one can be on linen and one can be on felt. So then we were like, well, which one goes on the Guyana, which one goes on the Mauritius? And the pattern of us just not seeing eye to eye on paper continued because you thought the linen should go on the Guyana and I thought that the felt should go on the Guyana. So we decided, why not just let fate decide? I honestly, I'm okay with either outcome.
Same.
It's just more fun to do it this way.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. No matter what, like, I'm not going to feel bad about this as with fate deciding. But like, I'd still feel like this little bit of something of like, no, I want the Guyana to be that one, and I think you see the same. So
yeah,
it'll be good. All right, so I have this special coin we're going to use here. So it'll be easy for you to see here. This is the head side. Okay. So that is the head side, and then we've got the tail side, which has a Roman numeral in there. I don't know how easily you can see that.
Okay. Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tails is going to be the Roman numeral side, and heads is going to be the side with the patch there that you can see.
Okay.
I'm going to flip this coin, and I'm going to flip it. I'm going to turn it, and then I'm going to reveal as best I can on camera here. It's going to be hard.
Okay.
But I'll try to do it like that. Is that acceptable to you?
That is 100%.
Okay.
I'm a big proponent of the flip the coin, catch it, then flip it onto the back of the hand.
Okay, good.
Do I need to call it in the air, or can I call it in advance?
You know what? The chances of me flipping this thing with enough time for you to call it in the air is going to be
I'm worried
hard.
about it.
I never this is a huge coin, so flipping this is going to be hard enough in the first place. So I think you call it, and I will flip it right after.
Okay, we'll go No Country for Old Men style. I'll call it in advance.
Call it. What do I stand to win?
What's the most I've ever lost on a coin toss, John?
A paper choice.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go with tails.
Okay. All right.
How do you feel about that? Were you hoping I would go one way or the other?
No, I mean, it's 50-50, man. It is what it is. I think I like heads, so I'm good with that,
Okay.
No problems.
Okay.
So we're going to flip it. I'm going to flip it like I normally would with the heads up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a very important coin toss, so, I want to make sure I get all the details right. All right. Here we go. We're going to try to flip this thing and catch it here. It's going to be hard to do on camera, so I'll do the best I can. Here we go. No,
Luna's
you can't
getting
take
a
part of
look.
this.
John's dog is coming. Everyone wants to see the outcome of the coin toss.
Here we go. All right.
Nice flip. Okay, here's the reveal.
Reveal, and it is tails.
Oh, tails never fails, baby.
All right, so that means felt for Guyana and linen for Mauritius.
I feel a little bad, to be honest.
You should feel bad. No, like you were saying, honestly, they're just two really good choices. I can't tell which one. Like now, of course, you know what's gonna happen, right? We're gonna see both of these bottles finally, and then we're gonna like probably flip. You're gonna be like, you know what? I actually like the linen better, and I'm gonna be like, I like the felt. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, it was really great flipping on your part. I
Practiced all day.
I was practicing flipping a quarter before we got on the call, just in case you wanted me to flip, and I kept dropping it. Like I was that's why I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'll just let John handle the flip.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of pressure, but you know we want to make sure we were off on the right foot with our flipping. You can't drop the coin flip.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have our outcome then.
Yep.
Guyana felt, Mauritius linen.
Yep.
And the next time people see these, they will be on the bottles. Well, I guess we'll post social media, so they won't be on the bottles then. But that's the next step, basically. We're getting close to the finish line.
Oh, thank goodness. Yes,
I'm knocking
ready.
on wood if you can hear that right now. Okay, amazing. Well, this has been our little addendum to the Mauritius Cask Reveal episode. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around to the end for the most important coin toss that's ever been on the podcast before.
Yep.
So who knows what we may flip on in the future? Maybe this will be a tradition. Every time we release something, we have to flip a coin about something.
I like it. We get into an impasse, we flip a coin.
Oh man.